Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Shelley Tasker Show here, coming out with Cornwall Revolution Radio.blogspot.com. It's good to have your company. We are in association with the Campbell, Newquay and Penzance Troop Action Groups. If you would like to join in the live chat, click on the live chat room link at the top right-hand side of your screen, just below the player of your choice. That is if you are on the Cornwall Revolution page. If not, we are on the Facebook page. Today's date is Wednesday the 2nd of June, and hosting alongside myself is Charlie Rainbow. Hi, Charlie.
Hello.
How lovely to see you again, my dear.
I know, isn't it?
We have two wonderful guests this evening, and our first guest is Ruby Deevoy, aka the CBD specialist. Welcome to the show, Ruby.
Hello, thank you very much, Shelley.
Oh, it's lovely to have you on.
I feel a bit like I'm in a film or something.
Well, it was only your mum a few weeks ago, and it was your wonderful mum that's been banned from Facebook. I am missing her posts.
Yeah.
And she mentioned about what you're doing, and I was like, oh, we really must chat. So yeah. So let's start at the beginning. Always the best place. Can you tell how did you get to be? And for those, a CBD consultant is a cannabis oil expert, so to speak. Am I right, Ruby?
Well, yeah. In this country, it would, technically, if we're talking about CBD oil, it would have to be a CBD oil. Cannabis oil is a whole other matter, but it's certainly what I'm hoping we will have in the UK quite soon, maybe.
Right, wonderful. See, I'm educated straight away. I thought they were the same things, but if you can just start from the beginning and tell us how you came to be doing what you're doing and what your path has been all about up until now, sweet. That would be lovely.
Yeah, so I have been writing about health, natural health really, for about 10 years. Not quite, nearly about 8 years. And, it started because, I was writing about beauty and health quite a lot. And I kind of thought, well, if I'm writing, then, I might as well be writing about something I'm actually interested in because I was just writing about everything for a while. And then I sort of honed in on natural health and natural beauty, which is what I use myself and sort of how I live. And I did that quite a long time until I was introduced to the CBD industry really by someone called Mary Biles, who is really, I think she's the super duper expert. She's amazing. She's a CBD kind of writer and talker as well. And she introduced me to a client of hers who she couldn't take on basically, and said, would you like to do it? Because, we've been in touch through my health writing. And I did want to do it. And so I very quickly had to learn about CBD. This was a few years ago, and they commissioned me to write 40 articles. So I was really thrown at the deep end with the kind of research. And as I tend to do with pretty much everything, is I kind of get absolutely obsessed with the research, and I really, really go into it. And so obviously by the end of this 40 articles that I'd written, I thought, right, this is it. This is all I want to write about now, because it was absolutely amazing. The more I found out about not just CBD, but the cannabis plant, which, I already was familiar with to some extent. I kind of had been introduced to it as a spiritual plant when I went to America for a little while. But I knew something about the therapeutic value of it, but I hadn't really gone into it properly. And the more I discovered, the more I realized, right, the world needs to know about this. We're not being told about it. And so this is what I'm going to write about now. And it's really been since then that I write solely about CBD and cannabis as much as I can. Cannabis as a whole in this country is a bit tricky.
Right. And I mean, I'm right in thinking, aren't I, that actually when you were growing up, you was quite turned off by the idea of cannabis.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I really, I really thought that cannabis was awful. I had really negative connotations with it. I'd seen people who smoked loads of weed who were in a really bad way and were not very nice or anything and things like that. And I thought it was devil's work. I wouldn't touch it. But which is I've since gone on to discover was just, obviously. People's negative connotations with it, if they've had negative experiences with it or seen negative things, associated with cannabis. That's not happening. Cannabis can be abused, just as anything can be abused. People can use it in a harmful way, and people do use it in a harmful way. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is an absolutely miraculous, incredible plant that we should all have access to, and that we should all be being told about. So, although I thought it was terrible, as soon as I started educating myself, really, I discovered that was nonsense. And I'm quite pleased to have had that experience, because I feel like it gives me some insight to the people I'm trying to convince, really.
And what was that? What was that experience, Ruby?
What was that?
What was the life-changing experience that you saw it in such a different way?
Nothing really. I mean, honestly, before I knew anything about it, when I was in my 20s, I guess I just kind of thought, I just feel like I'm being ridiculous, actually. I think I just stopped to think about it for a second. And then I was actually using a homeopathic sleep remedy. I was having a really bad time sleeping in my 20s, and I looked on the back of the packet to see what it was, because it was just one of those Nelson's ones, that you can buy in Boots or wherever. And it was cannabis sativa homeopathic remedy. And it was working brilliantly for me. It worked for me like no other sleeping tablet had worked for me. And I thought, well, if this works, then I suppose cannabis probably would as well. And it kind of opened my eyes to the potential of it. That was way early on, though. That was before I started writing about it. That was in my 20s.
Right. And you just kind of got interested into it, went on a whole research mission and found out all this. Just what a wonderful drug it is.
I was already writing about natural health, so my interests already lay in that. And so, honestly, you can spend 5 minutes researching this. If you take the time, just to take a look, the studies are overflowing. They're overwhelming. In fact, there are over 41,000 studies into cannabis and the endocannabinoid system, which is our own physiological system which cannabis interacts with. So literally, I was actually looking at a couple of years previously, because my son was born with very severe reflux disease. And so I was up kind of all hours of the night with him, and constantly looking for things we could do to help, because it was really, really, really awful. It was like he couldn't be put down to have his nappy changed or anything. It was screaming day and night, and we didn't want to put him on the medication that was being offered, because again, 5 minutes of researching that, and it was very clear to see that it should not be being given to babies, and the side effects were horrific. So we were going like the very natural route with him, and giving him acupuncture and cranial sacral osteopathy and homeopathy and massage and everything you can think of. And I started coming across these pediatric studies about CBD oil. I think it was CBD oil and reflux, and then looking into gastrointestinal stuff. And, then something came up about Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which my partner has very mildly. And so I was looking at that, and it was astonishing. Like right away, it was astonishing to see this is out there. This is something really quite remarkable, and nobody knows about it. It's not been reported in our newspapers. Our doctors don't know about it. It's just completely not talked about. And it's starting to change now, actually, which is very good news.
Yeah, I see lots of people, they're managing to get it from their GP.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, no?
From their GP, no. It is available, technically available on the NHS. This is medical cannabis or high prescription strength CBD oil as well. But it's very, very rarely given on the NHS. I think it's about 18 people have been prescribed medical cannabis on the NHS since 2018, which was when the law change came in, saying that people could get it on the NHS for certain conditions. And most people are declined access to cannabis, even though they will have the conditions that say they should get it. Their doctor, if their doctor is willing to ask for it, which a lot of them aren't because they aren't educated at all in cannabis or the endocannabinoid system at medical school. It's about 13% of medical schools in America are training their doctors in the endocannabinoid system in cannabis, even though it's available medically in America and here. And they're hardly teaching our doctors about it at all. So if you're lucky enough to get a doctor who will go up the chain and ask for you, it will almost always be declined. And then you have the option of going and getting it privately if you can pay for it. And fortunately, there are some subsidised schemes now, sort of projects going on where patients can get cannabis prescriptions much, much cheaper if they can participate in, whatever trial it is, whatever conditions they're looking at, sort of thing. But it is available. Everybody can go and get it, but for whatever horrible, corrupt reasons going on behind the scenes, not likely on the NHS. It was a very rambling answer.
No, not at all. Can you give us a brief in what is I don't think I can pronounce it, what you just said, the endocrinical system or what? I can't even say it.
Endocannabinoid.
Endocannabinoid. Right. Can you? I'm writing that down because one word I can never say.
Everyone looking up.
Yeah, I'll have to spell it out for everyone. So tell us what is that basically?
Okay, so we have obviously we've got lots of major physiological systems in our body. We've got the digestive system and the endocrine system and nervous system, immune system. And the endocannabinoid system is another one of those systems. And it is vitally important for pretty much every single function in the body because it's what's known as a homeostatic regulator, which basically means it is the system that oversees all other systems and keeps everything in your body in balance. Everything. Absolutely everything, from cell turnover to your brain, electrical firing, to your pain transmission, your appetite, your sexual function, just absolutely everything. And it's found all throughout the body. We know that we've definitely got two receptors called CB1 and CB2, and there's potentially another one now that they've discovered, CB3. And these receptors, which are everywhere down to your mitochondrial cell wall. They're literally absolutely every skin cell, all in your brain, in your internal organs, in your bones, in your muscles, everywhere. They work alongside our endocannabinoids, which are chemicals that are synthesized and produced on demand in our body. They're called anandamide and 2-AG, and they essentially activate the endocannabinoid system so that it can help your body trigger appropriate responses or whatever it needs to do to remain working properly.
Right, I'm really concentrating.
It's absolutely essential for everything about your body to work. And it's not taught to any of our doctors. Most doctors don't know it exists, really. And if they know it exists, they don't know what it is or what it does. Which basically means that when you go to the doctor and they are assessing you or helping you for whatever illness you have, they can't possibly be treating you properly if they don't know what the endocannabinoid system is, because it is involved with everything. So it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And it's the first thing that should make you think the fact that cannabis, which activates our endocannabinoid system in the same way that our own endocannabinoids do. So it's essentially, it's a supplement for your endocannabinoid system. And in being a supplement for that, it can help with many, many, many conditions that might occur as a result of an imbalance. If, say, for example, we're not producing endocannabinoids as we should be, which can occur as a result of chronic stress or lack of sleep or poor diet or illness, anything like that. But the illness can come from it. So if we're not producing, are you following? I realise this is very complicated.
It is, yeah. I'm sorry I asked such a complicated question, but we need to know. Because I've never heard of this before. I've heard of cannabis oil and stuff, but not this endocannabinoid.
The thing is that the way that cannabis interacts with our endocannabinoid system, it can act as the most amazing medicine, because it can support this homeostatic regulator that supports everything in your body. And it can be found in pretty much every vertebrate animal, and it's involved in every brain firing, electrical firing in your brain, and just everything. That's about it.
So is it almost like a, excuse me, like part of your nervous system? It will channel through that?
No, your nervous system is a system like the endocannabinoid system is a system. But it oversees the nervous system. So it's within your nervous system, and it's within your digestive system. It's a part of everything in your body.
Right. Okay.
That no other system is.
I just don't know why I've never heard of this before. I mean, there's lots I haven't heard of. But...
Why haven't our doctors heard of this before? Why has anybody heard of this before? Most people I talk to haven't heard of this before. And it's something that we should all be being taught at school.
Yeah. And it's such a natural remedy, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's one that's being used for, as far as we can see, at least 10,000 years, it was always used in medicine in every possible sense, in spiritual medicine and physical medicine, mental medicine, every kind of medicine, up until the 1920s. It was in all pharmacies. It was very, very well known and well used as a medicine, and then suddenly it was just made illegal, and there was this huge a surge of propaganda to make everybody think of it as this terrible, awful drug. And we absolutely know it's not that. And the propaganda is still there today, even though all across the world now we're seeing cannabis legalized for every purpose. And we're seeing these studies coming out saying there was a study recently, which actually I pitched out to many different magazines and papers, and no one has replied apart from one national paper replied to this pitch and commissioned it and then promptly spiked it. That didn't run it the day before it was meant to run. There's a study that's come out saying that there's a formulation of medical cannabis and functional mushrooms, which has been shown to kill nearly 100% of HER2 positive cancer cells, breast cancer cells. There are medications. I know there are medications now being made specifically for ovarian cancer. There's already one for colon cancer. These are cannabis. There's cannabis medication. This is purely using cannabinoids, which are the molecules in the cannabis plant, and terpenes. We know that it's an amazing healing plant that can cure many illnesses and certainly help manage illnesses, whether that's pain or PTSD or anything. We know that it's incredible, and yet we're constantly fed lies about it, frankly.
Yeah, and why do you think that is?
Oh gosh, well, I mean, there could be so many reasons. A lot of the original propaganda and prohibition is based in racism, it seems. There was, but of course there's the more likely thing is, of course, the huge amounts of money that would be lost by pharmaceutical companies if medical cannabis was made accessible as a medicine, because it could replace at least 25%. This is going by looking at America and Canada and places where it's already more widely available as a medicine, or recreationally. It could replace at least 25% of antidepressants and anticonvulsants and just so many, pain relief and so many different medications that pharmaceutical companies and people who have stakes in pharmaceutical companies are making billions out of. So it would be a great loss. And at the same time as keeping that, in the UK, we have the largest medical cannabis farm in the world, which we sell to other countries. where they to America or wherever, where they can get cannabis. They are allowed to have cannabis, and so they're getting the best of both worlds at the moment. They're getting all the money from people taking drugs that are literally killing them, instead of taking cannabis, which would do a better job and not be harmful, not have any side effects. And they're making the money out of the huge cannabis industry, which is also worth billions. So,
sorry, excuse that.
That's probably why.
Yeah. It's you just wouldn't be able to tax it, would you? Something that's so free, but it's like you say, the whole pharmaceutical chain, isn't it? Most of the medicines, they come from plants in the first place, but let's turn them into a tablet form and put some money on it. The fact that that a plant can be illegal anyway, but particularly one that we know is not as harmful as alcohol or cigarettes, for example. It's absolutely insane. It doesn't make any sense at all. No, it doesn't. I didn't realise that we were big empires of making it and then selling it on. It's crazy.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no, it's really big business, in so many different ways as well. You've got the CBD industry, and you've got the cannabis industry, you've got the medical cannabis industry, the recreational cannabis industry. It is absolutely huge. But then so is the pharmaceutical industry in many different ways.
Yeah.
We're 100% being, we're having this amazing thing taken away from us, and we have such a symbiotic relationship with nature and plants as it is, but this particular plant is like none other. It interacts with our body like none other. It can feed us and clothe us and heal us, and it can save our bee population, they're thinking now, because bees are massively more attracted to cannabis flowers than any other flower, apparently. It can if you plant cannabis or hemp, which is the same plant, we're just kind of taught that they're different, in soil, it will replenish the soil, even if it's soil that's useless for farming on. You can make hempcrete, which actually breathes. It's good for the environment. It's just crazy for how much this plant has to offer.
What's your view on cannabis lollies?
On what?
Cannabis lollies.
Cannabis lollies?
I had one the other day and I was chilled after that, I'll tell you that now.
Do you mean a CBD lolly or a cannabis lolly?
Yeah.
Which one?
It's the legal version, so the illegal part is taken out of it.
So the CBD oil that we can get here, unfortunately, obviously is THC free most of the time, or if it's got any THC in it at all, it's tiny little amount. But what do I think of CBD lollies? Well, it depends on the CBD lolly. What brand was it?
Okay, what's your favourite flavour, love?
What's my favourite flavour? I've never had a CBD lolly. I've had a CBD gummy.
See, I've seen ones on for sale where someone did like a Dragon's Den thing or something with the gummies or something, and they reckon it's quite beneficial. What's your view on that?
Oh well, yeah.
For giving up smoking, I think they said it was for.
Well, I mean, yeah, there has been something said for using CBD to help with addiction in general, because of the way that. I'm going to step back a bit and try and explain what CBD oil is for anyone who doesn't know what CBD oil is. So CBD oil is, you'll have seen it available everywhere now. It's absolutely massive trend, which has kind of given new light to cannabis, which is good. And it is basically cannabis extract, although in this country that's a hemp plant usually, which is a cannabis plant just with no THC and kind of lower levels of cannabinoids than marijuana, which is a cannabis plant with higher levels of THC. So it's got, unless you get something called CBD isolate, which is CBD on its own, and CBD is one of the molecules in the cannabis plant, but there are over 150 of those in the cannabis plant. They're called cannabinoids. And you've also got terpenes and flavonoids, all which have therapeutic value, as we're seeing from the studies that are coming out now. So you can get CBD isolate, which is just CBD on its own, or you can get broad spectrum CBD, which is usually a range of cannabinoids from the cannabis plant, or you can get full spectrum CBD, which has some THC in it, but a really, really tiny legal amount, so not the amount that will get you high at all. And it is the companies that sell it can only call it a novel food supplement, and say that they can't say that it has any health benefits at all. But it is a health supplement and it does have many health benefits. And I can say that because I'm a journalist and I'm not selling any CBD. But anyone selling CBD is banned from saying that it has any benefits at all. To the point where actually advertising anything to do with CBD or hemp or cannabis is literally banned on Facebook and Instagram. You're not allowed to talk about it. Oh, and Google Ads. And
let me guess, you get a jail sentence if you do.
No, you won't get a jail sentence. They won't let you advertise it. They'll take the ad. They won't publish the ad. They won't let it happen. Yeah,
because there was somebody at some point, Jason Vale or someone, that he said that cancer can be cured with a certain apricot thingy, and because he advertised that, he got jailed for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know about that. I know that they would, if a CBD company was making health claims on their website, they'd be told, don't do that, take it off. And then if they didn't, they'd shut their website down, I'm guessing. I don't know if they would jail them. I don't think so, not what I know of.
So, what do you think is the main thing, that the main illnesses that people use it for, Ruby?
Well, the CBD molecule is really particularly good for any mood disorders or problems, so anxiety and depression and stress. It's really great for that for a number of reasons. So CBD supports your endocannabinoid system in many different ways. So it supports the release of our endocannabinoids, which go all around the body, and they activate your ECS, and they go into your brain, and they sort of prevent the fight or flight response from happening inappropriately. CBD directly activates your serotonin receptors, which not only gives you a mood boost, but it also helps with all sorts of different things in your body. It's related to sleep, problems or good sleep if you have good levels of serotonin, and sexual function and digestion, loads and loads of different stuff. And there's usually more, unless you're getting CBD isolate, there's usually other cannabinoids in there as well, all of which have many different therapeutic value. So, a lot of people use CBD for arthritis because it's incredibly, or CBD oil, sorry, all of them. It's incredibly anti-inflammatory, so it's really good for any inflammatory conditions generally. Really good for sleep problems because it regulates your serotonin levels, which is vital for sleep, and it regulates your ECS, which is also vital for sleep. ECS, sorry, is endocannabinoid system, shortened. I'll say that from now on, ECS.
Yeah, I'll write that down.
So most commonly, CBD oil will be used for stress or anxiety, arthritis, and sleep, sort of pain relief, things like that. But really, the cannabinoid that's best for pain relief is THC. And there's one called CBG as well. You can actually get CBG oil now, which is another cannabinoid, which activates both ECS receptors, including the one that THC activates, although because it activates both of them, it doesn't get you high because they kind of balance each other out. So
do any of them get you high, Ruby?
What's that?
Do any of them get you high? The
THC
oils
would,
I mean, I'm guessing they take the THC out of the oil.
Yeah, well, I mean, if the oil is made from hemp, it naturally wouldn't really have any THC in it anyway, or if it did, it would be extremely low, because that's just the characteristics of that particular cannabis plant. Or they can get it from cannabis that does have THC and then extract the THC before it gets, put into a bottle. But if you're in a country where THC was legal for recreational use, then we would be getting that. In America or Canada, you can buy CBD oil that has THC in it, and that does get you high. But although although it doesn't get you high like
like that,
excited, getting gesturing here.
Come on, you're getting high enough.
It doesn't get you high like THC gets you high. But it does make you feel different, So if you get a good one, so if you've got a good CBD oil, it can make you feel a little bit. Some of them can make you feel a little bit woozy, not high, but a little bit woozy.
What about mellow?
Yeah, definitely mellow. It relaxes you. It's funny though, because it really does depend on the oil. Not all oils are made equal. I've tested a lot of different CBD products now, because I'm a CBD columnist for Top Sante magazine, and I write the CBD product indie best lists with Independent as well. So I get sent a lot of products to try, and I've tried over 100, and there are really only about maybe 30 products that stand out. Wow. And I'm being sent the best stuff as well. I don't actually accept products if they don't meet certain criteria for me. If they're not organic, I won't go near it, and neither should anybody else, because the cannabis plant is something called a bioaccumulator, which means that it absorbs everything that's in the soil it's grown in, or gets sprayed onto it, or anything like that. So if it's being grown using pesticides, for example, or if it's being grown in soil that's contaminated, it will absorb all of that, and that will go into the product, which is obviously going to be very bad for your body. So it has to be organic. Ideally, I would like to see subcritical or supercritical extraction rather than solvent extraction, because I don't want any extra chemicals in there. And if it's a vape pen, I wouldn't want to see any PG or VG stuff in there, just pure hemp oil or MCT oil, which is coconut oil. So I'm being sent the best stuff, and really only a selection stand out. I can't remember. Did you ask me a question? I
can't remember myself. But how would you cut? Can you differ? Oh, my words are awful today. See, if I had some, I'd be like 10 times worse. Can you differentiate? I'm not even going to try and say it. The difference between smoking the cannabis than the oil.
So you can actually buy hemp flower here, which is THC flower. It's technically illegal, sort of. It's like a really grey area, that, because our CBD industry really is a bit ridiculous, because it's not really the real deal. It does, and that's not saying it doesn't work. Like, the stuff here can be great, and I have tried great stuff, and I've tested great stuff on people, and it's really, really helped them. But the CBD oil in this country is usually hemp. Hemp does not have the same abundance of cannabinoids as the marijuana plant, or which is the one with higher THC, and it doesn't have the THC in, which is really, really important as well. Oh my God, I've lost my train of thought again. What am I doing? I'm differentiating between, what am I doing?
That's what you said, yeah. Well, between the oil and actually smoking it. If you was if you were smoking it on a regular basis, you would have the HCT in it, which would make you high all day, whereas the oil's not going to give you that.
Yeah, not in this country anyway, but you can, if you wanted to smoke it, if you prefer smoking it, which some people do. I would always recommend vaporizing over smoking, not only for the sake of your lungs, but also because you get the terpenes that way, which are also very, very medicinal and well worth having if you're using it in any way to feel nice, really. Because when you smoke, they burn off. So I'd recommend vaping it. But yeah, you can actually buy cannabis flower here, just online. Technically, sort of legal, sort of not, but it's there. And that doesn't have any THC in it. So if you prefer smoking straight flower or vaping straight flower rather than taking an oil, that is actually an option. And that doesn't really make you feel high either. It just makes you feel lifted,
Yeah. I know. If you take the oil, how long does it start to take working? How long does it? Oh, my words today. How long does it take to start working? Can't answer that question, but no, it's not. I have fibromyalgia, and I've noticed lately that my words come out back to front a lot, and I just get total brain fog. And I'm wondering now about the oil. I was talking to somebody about it at the weekend actually, and I was trying to think.
You don't take CBD oil when you've got fibromyalgia?
No. I need to take something.
100% should.
Yes.
You do. Actually, there's a really, really interesting paper that was written by Dr. Ethan Russo, who is one of the leading cannabis experts in the world, basically. And he has written a paper that's reviewing 10 years worth of studies, which has basically concluded that it seems the most likely cause of fibromyalgia, migraines, and IBS is something called an endocannabinoid deficiency, which obviously basically means we're deficient in endocannabinoids, which cannabis or CBD oil can help with. The CBD oil actually can stand in for our endocannabinoids. So if you're not making them at all, if you take CBD oil, that can be your endocannabinoids and get your endocannabinoid system activated and working again. So for people with those conditions, it can be completely life-changing if you get the right one. And even more so if you get the proper stuff with THC in it as well, for the therapeutic value of THC.
And for that, you would see someone like yourself.
What was that, Mary?
You'd see someone like yourself, because you're a consultant as well, am I right?
Well, it depends really on the severity of your condition, I would say. I get people writing to me sometimes asking for a consultation, and they're talking about they're having seizures or things like that, which cannabis can be absolutely amazing for as well, because it helps to regulate the electrical firing in your brain. So that's why it can be so miraculous for children, or these children with irretractable epilepsy, which basically means they don't respond to any other drugs. So, this is kind of the most famous thing we're seeing about cannabis in the papers. It's these children with this epilepsy, and they take cannabis oil and they don't have a seizure for a year, or forever, or whatever it is. But yeah, it's definitely one.
And is it one that takes a while to start working?
It varies for everybody. So I just wanted to finish what I was saying.
Sorry.
So it was just that, so for people with very severe conditions like that, I always recommend they go and see a medical cannabis clinic where they will talk to a doctor. I'm not a doctor, so I wouldn't want to advise somebody who was clearly really needing proper medication, The CBD oil that we can get in this country can be brilliant for people, but it's not the same really as getting proper cannabis, which you can get from a doctor, because it doesn't have as much of the cannabinoids in. But it can be really, really great for people that don't need something that strong, So say, for example, and they actually, sometimes people even find if they do have severe fibromyalgia or whatever, that CBD oil can work for them. It just really depends on the individual, because we all metabolize the cannabinoids differently. So, for one person, they might need a tiny little bit of THC or CBD or whatever to put their body back in balance again, whereas somebody else might need absolutely loads. And this is what I'm always saying about dosage as well, because, you know, when you get a CBD oil and you're left alone to figure out how to use it, if you're prescribed it from a private clinic, they will take you through it and give you a protocol and do it with you every step of the way. But if you're buying a CBD oil in the shop, then obviously you're on your own. And it does have a recommended dosage, although on some it's no more than 70 milligrams a day, and others it's no more than 200 milligrams a day. But the truth is that there's no dosage that's right or wrong. It's totally individual, because the cannabis plant works completely differently with everybody. It is totally symbiotic. It's amazing. It's like the CBD molecule can actually work through completely different mechanisms in the body for different conditions. It's just like nothing else really. It's sort of like an adaptogen, but more, even though it's not classed as an adaptogen. It basically is that.
Sure. So, I mean, in an ideal world, it's all very well having all of these shops pop up and say that they do it, but they need to be, well, experts, really. Like you say, you can't just go in and buy one off the shelf. Well,
yeah, it certainly helps. I mean, you see a lot of, it's a huge trend, you know, it's absolutely massive. There are just a ridiculous amount of CBD products available now, and most of them are just people jumping on the bandwagon, you know, because there is a lot of money to be made in the industry. You know, you've got people selling CBD infused pillowcases and whatever. You know, it's like, what? That's ridiculous. It's going to be silly. But, you know, and you've also got people who are just, you know, they're buying white label product very cheaply and they're selling it at hugely inflated prices, and people are buying it because it's in a fancy packaging and it says CBD on it, or, you know, people are selling it and they don't really understand it. They don't really respect the plant. They don't really know what it has to offer, and they're not really being a part of the cannabis industry in a positive way, you know, whereas there are people who launched a CBD brand, whatever, because they know it works. They've experienced it themselves, or they've seen it happen, or whatever it is. And they are really well educated, and they totally understand what the plant is doing and how it works and why they've formulated a certain product a particular way, you know, which plants they've gone for. There's care put into it, you know. So it's, you know, that's something that I really help with. You know, when people come to me for a consultation, you know, they come to me with whatever problems they have, and I can suggest to them which CBD product I have tried, because I try products on people all the time for loads of different conditions, because I want to know which ones work and which ones don't, and which ones work for what, because they vary for different conditions, and I can then recommend to somebody what I think from my trials would work best for them. You know, and it'll be based on my trials, and it's based on looking at the lab reports of the products, which have the different cannabinoids listed in it, because different cannabinoids are good for different things, and different products have different levels of it in. So, you know, I've got products that are fantastic for stress, and I've got ones that are the best for pain, and that'll be a different one. And I've got one that, you know, it has just been an absolute miracle for someone who has PTSD, you know. So they vary a lot.
Have you dealt with anyone with multiple sclerosis? Because some people take, like, they will smoke cannabis for it, but is it still effective if it's in the oil version?
Oh yeah, absolutely is. Yeah, people are treated for MS with it all the time. You know, you can get medical cannabis prescription for MS and see a doctor, but probably not on the NHS, unfortunately, even though technically you should. But privately, you definitely could. Be very good for that.
Yeah. And what are we looking at price-wise? Let's say a month's supply.
Well, it varies, but it depends on the milligrams, you know, because you can get it in 200 or 500 or 1,000, 3,000 or whatever. You know, a lot of people start at 500 milligrams and then they might find that they want higher dosage. But the one, let's say 1,000 milligrams, which is kind of like your mid-weight kind of oil, that would probably be about sort of 60 to 80 pounds
a month.
And that would last you probably about 6 weeks, depending, because the thing is, this is a point that I must make as well about CBD oil, is that you have to take it consistently. It has to be treated like medicine when you're taking it. It's every day. I recommend microdosing, which is taking a few drops 3 times a day and seeing how you feel, and then gradually building up to a dose that is right for you. Don't listen to the label. Don't forget about the label. Listen to your body, because you will know if it's helping you. And it'll be when you feel better. When you feel better and you take some more and you find that it doesn't make you feel better, or you feel too sleepy or whatever, then don't take any more. So it's vital to take it properly. A lot of people might take a few drops when they feel they need it. Say they're feeling stressed, they might take a couple of drops and they feel stressed and then not take it again for a week or whatever. But if you want it to work, it needs to be regular so that it can accumulate in your system basically and give your body time to rebalance, which is basically what it's doing. Sure.
And well, we've got 10 minutes left, Ruby. So can we go to the spiritual aspect side of it? Mm-hmm. Now, I know that people who smoke cannabis and they believe they're getting a greater relaxed frame of mind, and they can also, be very in touch with their feelings and stuff from the smoking side of it. Can this be reached at all with the oil?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think that THC plays a really big role in that, kind of perception shift, because THC is really the one that affects your brain the most, which is so important. For, when you feel stoned and you feel a bit high, it shifts your position in the universe, if you allow it to. And people can use that in a really negative way. If somebody is using cannabis as a means to escape, if they're really unhappy or whatever, and they just smoke themselves into oblivion because they like that kind of, you get that feeling of being a little bit spacey, and that shifts your attention, but you can continue that to a place where you're not really here anymore, and if you're doing that all the time, then that's not good for you. You've got to be present sometimes. Oh,
absolutely.
But that's people's choice. People can abuse anything. People can use anything in a harmful way, really. But yeah, so I wouldn't say, if I was using cannabis as a spiritual medicine, I wouldn't use a CBD oil. If it was cannabis oil with the THC in it, then yeah, there's no reason not to use that. But I do think that THC plays a big role in the spiritual side of it.
Yeah, and was it that you saw you had a great learning when you started your venture into all of this, seeing what it was doing for people, that changed your perception? Because you said before that, you was quite against it and stuff, but you learned actually it's not as bad as everybody says. Am I right? Yeah. I was listening to one of your interviews with somebody else, and you were talking about how you saw somebody that had been, basically the spiritual side of it.
Yeah, well, no, so I went out to America for a while, and I was living with a Native American, and obviously it's a sacred plant in Native American culture, as it is in many different cultures around the world, and so I was introduced to it in a very new sense. In that kind of spiritual connection, and what it can do, how it can shift your perception like that and change your way of thinking and put you into a place where you can see things that perhaps you can't see otherwise without that little bit of help, and you can communicate with the plant. If you can get to the place where you are aware that plants have their own spirits, you can communicate with a cannabis plant. And actually, interestingly, there has been one CBD product I've tried where I felt very much like the plant had a personality.
Wow.
It felt quite like a spiritual aspect to it, which I was very surprised about, which kind of suggests to me that perhaps some of the other cannabinoids are very important for that as well. I'm sure they are. It's the whole plant, there's no reason why it would be one cannabinoid and not the other. So I was introduced to it in a very spiritual way, and I'm generally a spiritual person, So it was just part of that, It was like an accepting that that's one avenue to achieve, visions or whatever it is that you might want to do. It is used for that, like ayahuasca is used for that, or mushroom or whatever. Yeah. And I recently wrote an article about. I've got this theory basically that the endocannabinoid system might be where consciousness resides in the body. So your soul came up with when I was for kind of describing what the ECS is and how it works. You'll hear people talking about how it's like a composer for the symphony of your body or things like that, which is very nice. But for some reason, it just didn't really quite sit right with me. And I was kind of thinking about how it works and what it does with the body. And basically, the ECS, when it's activated, whether that's by cannabis or by our own endocannabinoids, it kind of wakes up and it reads what's going on outside, in the outside conditions in your body and outside your body and whatever. And then it relays that information into your cells, every single cell in your body. And then it triggers the according response from what it's told the cells to do. And the more you learn about it, the more it kind of feels very much like an entity in and of itself. It feels very present. And just the way that it is involved in absolutely every aspect of every part of your body, every single part of your body and your mind and everything. It's everywhere. And then, I kind of tied it to, there are these studies about Tibetan monks where they've seen that them up in the Himalayas meditating to a point where they can raise their body temperature and lower their blood pressure and their heart rate and whatever, and they can raise their body temperature to the point where they can dry wet sheets in the freezing cold weather. And they brought them into a lab to actually be studied, basically, and they did this meditation and they did those things, and it's there on record. They've got these studies showing what was happening in their body, and they were definitely doing it. They were changing their blood pressure and they were doing all this stuff just by meditating. And essentially, but I started wondering, well, did they do that by activating their ECS? Were they becoming present to their endocannabinoid system and asking it to do these things, or making it do these things? So at the moment, science hasn't shown that there's any proof. There's no proof of the soul. There's no proof of consciousness at all. We can't find it in the body. And so I just started wondering, well, maybe that's it. maybe that is what we're looking at here. And I actually, after I wrote this article, someone wrote to me asking if I knew about this organisation called the Guy Foundation. I should look into it. And so I looked them up, and basically they're this foundation that's been set up to fund millions and millions funding for quantum biology research, which is basically investigating how quantum mechanics, the universe, the energy of the universe, the mystery of the universe, can be used as a medicine by making it interact with our body with electromagnetic frequencies and everything. This is proper, serious scientific research that's going on at the moment. This isn't like, conspiracy theory, wishy-washy. No. This is actually really happening.
Sure.
It sounds like something from a sci-fi film. It's magic, basically. So I wrote to them and I said, right, I've just written this article. I don't really know why I'm writing to you, but here it is. It looks like we have kind of the same interests. I don't know. I don't really know why I wrote to them. I don't know what I was expecting back. But anyway, they wrote back to me, basically kind of expressing some interest in this theory. And, they'd taken it to their board and kind of discussed it as this point of research, and, asked me if I would like to collaborate with some organisations or scientists to kind of explore this further. So, and I've since contacted scientists and doctors who are working in these fields and organisations with this every single time thinking, I'm sure I've just made this up. This is ridiculous. Like, I've just plucked this out of nowhere. I'm not making any sense. Surely this can't be real. And they all come back to me interested and saying, yeah, I'd quite like to be a part of this. And I just can't believe it.
Well, why not? I mean, I class myself as a really spiritual person, and I think somewhere, I mean, I've had out-of-body experiences before, and that just proves to me that we're not connected to this body, but we all want to know more about what's outside of the spiritual sense, don't we? And I do, we do know people that meditate, they go places, they journey, and there's some intense stuff. But that theory, I couldn't put it into words now. What you just said just now, it makes total sense to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, we know that there is no physical matter in the universe. There's nothing really here. Our bodies don't really exist. This table I'm sitting at isn't really there. There is nothing. There's absolutely nothing there. At the moment, one of the theories we're looking at is that everything is just one big thought, basically, and we're all a series of sub-thoughts. So who the fuck really knows what's going on? Sorry, I don't have to.
No, that's all right. Well, we don't, do we?
I kind of am wondering if we are here, if we have been given this illusion of a world to live in, then surely there must be some kind of locality to our consciousness, because we've come into this hologram, or whatever it is, as these individuals in these bodies. And there are practices we can do to become more aware and more conscious, more aware of the fact that we are a soul and we are more than just our bodies, and so that kind of makes me think, well, there must be something in us, something that's actually not just this lump of meat or whatever, because there's proof of there being something after our body dies. There's something still there. We've seen there's these studies showing that the cerebral cortex of the brain, which is considered to be like the conscious part of the brain, has this massive flare of activity after you die, to the point that it's more than when you were alive, and then it's just gone. And nobody knows what that is.
So this is actually after we're dead. The brain is still going.
After your brain has gone, suddenly your consciousness part of your brain goes vroom, and then goes.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's been, yeah. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So there's something going on that's physical. And it just feels to me like it must be something that oversees everything. It makes sense to me that would be the endocannabinoid system. And it kind of ties in even more to me that would be something that, if there is evil in the world and corruption and whatever, then my God, they wouldn't want us to have that, would they? It's something that that can activate that and help us see that and merge with, essentially we're merging with another consciousness. If our consciousness is in the endocannabinoid system and our endocannabinoid system interacts directly with the cannabis plant, we're merging consciousness with that plant. We can learn from that plant. It's a teacher, and that's what it's used as. And that surely is a very dangerous thing for us to have. But not for us. It's not dangerous to us. Dangerous to somebody else, maybe.
Wow, that is fascinating. And I mean, you're a clever woman for sure, Ruby. And actually, what ideas would you get if you had the odd few joints? This whole theory, then it would be even further out there, wouldn't it?
I do have the odd few joints.
Yeah, I thought you must do. Ideas don't just come like that, do they? and I do think that's it. That's the whole creativity of it as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and anybody who gets into cannabis, not just smoking cannabis, but starts learning about cannabis, becomes so deeply passionate about it. Like, if you really get into it, if you really start understanding it, it's almost like you embody this energy of the plant. And, the cannabis industry, there are a lot of people that really get it in the cannabis industry, and they're amazing. Like, the cannabis industry is so supportive and loving, and it's got this energy it's literally everybody has the same goal in mind, which is to heal the world, basically, of the pain that the world is in, and cannabis can do that, whether that's helping with the pollution or what the bees or physically in pain in your body, it literally helps heal the pain of the world. And everybody who gets cannabis gets that. It's beautiful. It's a really wonderful thing. And again, very dangerous perhaps if we all had access to that information and love,
Oh, I know. Can you imagine what the world would be like?
Very different. There's a brilliant book actually called Pain Nation, which explores that, and it basically talks about how different the world would be if the people in charge, weren't in pain, whatever pain that is,
Sure.
Because anger, fear, hatred, evil, it's, so much of it comes from pain. So what would happen if there was none?
Oh, imagine John Lennon. That's the song we should play out with now.
That's it. Play me out to imagine.
Oh, no. It has been lovely chatting to you, Ruby. And it all starts to get interesting, doesn't it? Really interesting when you get to the end. But hey ho, you'll have to come back another time and we'll chat further.
I could talk for hours.
You're like your mum. Oh, bless you. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
No, you're welcome, and we'll speak again soon, sweet.
Thank you.
Take care.
Brilliant.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Ruby. Bye. And we are gonna play. We've got a quick 2-minute break, guys. The usual song by Tommy Coyle, Stazzy State. We shall play this, and after that, we'll be back with Marki Plays from Not on the BBB. If I can get it to play. No, wrong one. Be back in a couple of minutes, guys.
I need a leader, I don't need a liar. I need a preacher, I don't need a high piper. I need a country, not a Stasi state. I need my life back, my life back, my life back. They own the freedoms in this animal farm. They own the needles that they're sticking in your arms. This ain't a country, it's a Stasi state. And they're just trying to gaslight you when they make it seem like they care for you. When really the opposite's true. They're taking away your liberty and doing it all for your safety. Yeah, a revolution isn't on the cards. Too many zombies doing life behind bars. The streets are empty in the middle of the day. Except for the Stasi, the Stasi, the Stasi. And they play their hand so carefully. Scandal of the century. Seducing you with deep state streams. Abusing you while your mates are asleep. Yeah, I need a party and it's been a while. I need some therapy from my inner child. I know I'm not in the best mental state, but take a chance on me, dance with me, darling. Don't try to tell me they're not shaking us down, bro. They got their boot and it's stamping your face to the ground. They'll even tell you to stand up against them, cause they prey on your compliance in this Stasi state. Until the people would just stop complying.
Indeed. When will the people just stop complying? If only. Right, our next guest. Sorry if you can hear the dogs barking out there. Our next guest is Marki Plays at the BDG. We are now going to call him via Skype for part 2. Should be there. Bear with. Love that. Love it. Good evening, Mark.
Good evening.
How are you?
Very good, Shelley. Very good.
Oh, well, thank you for coming on. I was getting a bit worried there. You've been a bad boy, haven't you? Because you've been banned from Facebook.
Yes, and they increased it. It was going to be a detention for 7 days. And I just went back on to have a look to see what was happening. And they had increased it to 30 days.
That's because you're reporting too much truth.
Well, it wasn't. They gave a reason. I think everyone's seen the short video from the protest on Saturday with the nun outside. Did you see that?
Yes,
one?
I have seen that. Yeah.
Yeah. They tried to say that's why they were banning me, and everyone has put that one absolutely everywhere. But what actually happened is I tried to put a video up of the magnet challenge. It was while I was trying to upload that. It had a link to YouTube. That's when I got the ban.
Oh, it's shameful, isn't it? Because obviously you can't share the show now, and it's just when things are getting going. I know that before, and it's like, "Oh, you're banned. You can't communicate." But sorry, I should introduce you to our guest, Marki Plays. You are. What is your actual surname? Because you're Mark Plain on Skype, but is Marki Plays your screen name, so to speak?
That's it. You got it.
Right. Okay.
And Plays is what I went by when I used to try and hide who I was before I gave that to that.
No, you can't hide who you are. And quite ironically, actually, I think I was stood next to you when Kate Shemarani was talking on Saturday in London. But I didn't know it was you. I wasn't sure, but I was stood more or less next to you filming it.
Right. Well, I wasn't actually there.
It wasn't you then?
The Magnet Challenge.
Right. Okay.
The filming for the Magnet Challenge I did that got the ban. I was actually in the park, St James's Park.
Well, I'm glad I didn't say hello now and say, "Are you Mark?" Oh, right. So, can you? You're would you say alternative journalist?
Yes, that's what I've become. I didn't mean to.
So how have you stumbled upon this path? Give us a bit of a history about what you've been doing and how you got to where you are now.
Well, I went to film school when I was younger, but then when I left film school, I kind of went travelling, got involved in a whole bunch of different things, but came back to film 10 years ago, and was working with some big stories, writing some feature films, and got interested in medical journalism about 7 years ago, like most people, with a traumatic incident when my mother got ill. And, of course, did that kind of deep dive. And when you do that deep dive and go down the rabbit hole, there's no coming back with what you learn. So I just kind of carried on. And it's kind of, I've been, since 2014, minimum 5 posts a day on, trying to create awareness for certain medical issues. And then, of course, by the time the coronavirus came, because we've been trying to warn people what was happening, because we could see everything ramping up with the flu vaccine. We didn't know they were going to pull this one, but we could see what was happening, so we were trying to warn people. And then, I just found myself in the driving seat when this all started, because I just kind of understood how these companies were working. I understood how the propaganda was working. I'd already been suffering censorship, and was just a typical kind of social media warrior, really, until I kind of went full time in early August. 8th of August, because we realised how serious things were and where they were going. Can I
interrupt you a minute there, Mark? Can you lose the screen just because I think we'll have better bandwidth? Okay, I've got a slight buzz.
Is that gone? Okay.
It's still there slightly. That's all right. Don't worry, it's fine. It's not too bad. I just wondered if it might help. Yes, carry on. So 8th of August.
Yeah, 8th of August just kind of became full-time with it. And then by the end of the month, we had the first large national protest on the 29th of August. And I just took along a mobile phone and filmed live for a couple of news outfits that were interested in Highwire in America. And by the end of it, there were 30,000 people at that protest. And we obviously were trying to raise awareness because the BBC didn't cover anything. They tried to deny it existed. But by that end of that protest, 29,000 people had done a 30,000 roughly, had kind of watched my live feed. But when it went into America, it ended up clocking 1.4 million views.
Wow.
By the end of it. And I was just like, wow. And I'd always been behind the camera, and I accidentally was trying to flip the screen and ended up on camera. And then people started saying hello to me, and I went, oh, hello back. And that kind of, so I'd always been kind of undercover before, just kind of changing my name, because I was always going to Cannes Film Festival, respectable gentleman trying to raise large amounts of money for a feature film. And I didn't think it kind of matched the medical activism, but now kind of my disguise has been blown. And it's just, me trying to get the news out. And of course, Not on the Beeb came. That was a catch line I'd used so many times on posts before. Like, you won't see this on the BBC, you won't see this on the BBC. And of course, when that, on the 29th of August, when the BBC didn't report on the fact that Trafalgar Square was full of protesters, I was like, right, I just put the name down, Not on the Beeb. And that's how it started.
Oh, it's brilliant. And you've got a massive following as well, haven't you? Because I look for your live feeds when there's protests going on. If I'm not there in London, I think, right, you'll be there somewhere filming.
Yeah. yeah.
So was you at Twickenham on Saturday? Not Saturday, Sunday, sorry.
No, Twickenham was on Monday, Bank Holiday Monday.
Of course it was, yeah.
And wow, what an amazing day that was. I mean, when I say amazing, when I use these adjectives, I don't mean them in a positive way, but it was absolutely... I was dumbstruck with what we saw. We all were, all the people that turned up to try and see what was going on, whatever they were doing. We took the Magnet Challenge there, but it was like being at a rock concert, Shelley. It was like, you'd think the Rolling Stones or a massive band were about to play. People were coming out of the station and they were running to get in the queue. And just hundreds and hundreds and then thousands. And they're all the same age. It was just like being at Reading Rock Festival. They're all between 18, 25 years old. Very white, very middle class, all holding a smartphone in the hand. And I kind of went up to the front. We heard some kind of police sirens. So I left the where we were doing the Magnet Challenge. I left my kind of helpers there with the cameras, and I went up to see what the sirens was about. I thought they'd arrested Piers Corbyn again. And I went up to the beginning of the queue, and I just started filming the beginning of the queue, and it just didn't end. The queue went round the front of the stadium, it went down the side past the normal exit, and it carried on going down the road and completely past the stadium to where there's a Tesco's. It then turned left, kind of, which was three sides of the square, and literally went into suburbia. And as it went into suburbia, the queue then went down cul-de-sacs. And once the people who were joining the back of the queue realised there was a cul-de-sac, the kind of queue came back out the cul-de-sac on the other side of the pavement and went down the road again until there was another cul-de-sac, and did that 3 times.
Oh,
I mean, I've never seen anything like it. It nearly took me 30, I don't know how long it really took, 20, 25 minutes to walk from the beginning to the end of the queue.
They must be that scared. I mean, imagine wasting a day in a queue, especially to get your COVID vaccine.
On a bank holiday, on a gorgeous
it was
bank
beautiful.
holiday, but they didn't have fear. They didn't seem like afraid people who were going for something. It was more like a badge of honour status. It was more like that. They were very positive. They were all very upbeat, and they absolutely didn't like any of us who said anything contradictory. And when we kind of said, "Oh, do you realise?" We were asking people coming out, "Can we do the Magnet Challenge on you? Can we see the magnet sticks?" And the vast majority walked past, stuck their nose in the air, and a lot of them just frowned and just turned away. Just did not want to know. Absolutely did not want to know. And then when we told people at the front of the queue later that, "Hey, you do realise that when you come out, because we've proven this, that you do realise when we come out that you're going to become magnetic, and the magnet's going to stick to you." Some of them just went, "Good, great," and others just actually swore at us. And we've never had a response like that before.
I believe from Fiona's post, I think that 15 people turned back and changed their mind, but there was 15,000 people that went for the vaccine.
My guess was when I came back, I said if I'd been talking to 100 people and I'd put my full effort in with 10 to 15 minutes per person, I might have turned around 1 in 100. That was my guess. They were rock solid. They'd made their minds up. They're absolutely...
Well, credit to you for being down there. It was great seeing what's going on. And that's what we need. Because like we say, the BBC aren't going to show it, are they, for sure? So tell us about this Magnet Challenge. I'd only heard a few snippets of it the other week. And then I saw your post and I went and watched some of your YouTube video. So you're not going to lie. Why would you lie? And there's people out there doing it, isn't there? Can you tell us a bit more about it, Mark?
Well, it just started off with me. So I went through the same process that you went through, and the same process that every single person who comes across this goes through, except maybe I kept going. I saw the first one, and I just kind of just was next. I just didn't believe it. I just didn't take it, register at all. Then I saw the second one, and I was like, oh, hang on, that's 2 people. And then the third one came in, and it happened to be from a friend of mine, or someone I'd met very briefly. We'd exchanged a bit of information, and I knew I respected and trusted the guy. And he goes, this is my mum. And I was like, pardon? Wow. And then somebody else then called me up and said they'd tested it at a dinner party. And I was like, right, here we go. And I was just thinking about what to do about it. And then I had a quick look at the fact checkers, and they'd all jumped on it. I mean, this was too quick. This was within like a day and a half of the story coming out. All the fact checkers were in there, absolutely slamming it. So I was like, right, here we go. So, yeah, I just jumped in the train. I went down the coast, got my cameras out, and just did a proper little, let's see it for myself. Let's meet the lady, meet Carl's mother, and see with my own eyes and test it with my own fingers. And, of course, even the shock for me was, as soon as I saw Carl put it on his mother, I was like, wow. And I was like, straight away, hang on, Carl, let's swap. You hold the camera. I want to try this myself. And it's not until, really, because, we've all, as kids, we've all played with magnets, haven't we, as children?
Yeah.
How fascinating is it? You pick up a magnet and you play with it and you push it against another magnet and it shoots across the table, and you try it on your cup and it doesn't stick, and you try it on wood and it doesn't stick, and then you try it on some metals and it doesn't stick, and you try it on other irons and it does stick, and you learn. But the one thing we all know is when you pick up the magnet, it doesn't stick to your finger, does it? It doesn't drop on your, stick on your nose. We know from being children that magnets don't stick to your body. So when you feel that magnet for the first time literally kind of jump out of your hand and you feel that attraction, it's an absolutely astonishing moment. So I understand why people, a lot of people are kind of not believing it.
But like you say, once you've seen it, that is it, isn't it? And I don't, why would you lie about things? I have seen the videos, and I don't doubt it. I mean, what did this woman feel like then, knowing that she could get magnets now sticking to her with the vaccine?
Well, she was just a bit, perplexed is probably the best way of putting it, because people don't know what to think. And, of course, they've made a big decision to go along with the vaccine. And, of course, it's the people who, it's people like us who are trying to warn about the vaccine that then they're testing it. So there's always that kind of suspicion. But we did, when we did the test on Saturday, we were in the park, and what was really amazing is people were surprised when you put the magnet on them, and they're looking, their eyes are kind of like 3 inches, 4 inches away from their shoulder. But when you give them the magnet and it pulls and jumps on, you can see it on their faces. They're just absolutely astonished. But nearly everybody kind of has to accept it, because they have to kind of internalize what it is. So nearly everybody goes, oh, no, I'm fine. I'm okay with it. But you can see the look of confusion on their face. But they all try, and they all put out that they're happy about it, because that's, they're going to have, they know it's happened, and they kind of need to keep a smile on their faces. So that's what we noticed. But
secretly, they must be absolutely bricking it. I would feel so fearful if I thought, you start thinking things are a bit different. Perhaps what we need at some of these vaccination centres are like a few people that it works with, and get them all like doing a demonstration in the queue.
That is a great idea.
Yeah.
Because then people see it, right? That's a great idea. We didn't think of that. Because then people were afraid to come near us. This is their big day out. They've got a ticket. There's that kind of scarcity. Are they going to be able to go? And they kind of go there. There's that rock concert feeling. All their friends are coming. And then to have someone kind of poop on their party saying you shouldn't be getting the vaccine for reasons. They're not interested. And they don't want to do the test. And you can see them kind of putting the ears over their fingers in their ears. But seeing somebody walk by, that, and finding, it's a great idea, I'm just thinking out loud here, but finding somebody who had the vaccination recently, then showing the magnet on, that person then speaking to them saying, I wouldn't do this without you, that would be more powerful. That's a brilliant idea, Shirley.
Thank you.
Right, we need volunteers. Who's listening?
Yeah, well, do you know what? I reckon there's got to be lots of people that have had the vaccine and they have now changed their mind, and it's so unfortunate that they've had to go through it, because, like I say, you can't undo the vax. Once it's done, it's done. And do we know any answers, like, is it a certain vaccine in particular? Is it after the second vaccine, or we're not any further into anything like that?
We're a lot further into it because the films we put out are kind of a week behind what we know. We know for the first question, which vaccines? It's the mRNA vaccines. So it's Pfizer and Moderna. It's not the AstraZeneca. Now, we have had a couple of people say it sticks, but we've only heard it, we've not seen it. So in our minds, it's just the mRNA vaccines. And do we know what it is? Yeah, we're getting some very big clues because this is not just with the magnets. What we've now found is that the metal objects will stick to people's arms as well. Little bolts.
Oh my God.
Mobile phones. People sticking mobile phones to their arms. Not here. What we've seen here in Britain is a very light attraction. And when we're outside, Twickenham, you have to search for it. It's not like the magnet snatched out of your hand from 3 feet away. You have to kind of play around with the magnet, and then literally you just feel a little tug. It might twitch, and then it will stick. And we've come across people, have had it 2.5 months ago in both vaccinations, and it's much stronger. And the magnet will literally flip from one side to the other. If you have the wrong polarity, the magnet will kind of just jump to try and get the right polarity. So we know also what's inside is not a metal. It's magnetic. It's got a magnetic force, so it's pulling iron objects to stick on the outside.
Well, they do say the mRNA vax is a synthetic one, isn't it? Totally synthetic. So, I don't know where I'm going with that, but I'm just thinking of what you said. Yeah. It is just crazy because we're all learning stuff all the time, aren't we? About all these vaccines and stuff like that. I'd like to think that I was quite educated before because. Well, people say I don't like to be referred to as an anti-vaxxer. Well, I am actually, and I don't care if that's what people want to refer me to. My older two have had the jabs, and my 7-year-old hasn't had one. I believe in immunity over all of this, especially this COVID stuff. It's just crazy. But we don't know who had the first idea or who was the first person this happened to. Because were they just playing one day and they walked past something and a magnet flew at their arm or something?
I've no idea. We'd love to know who the first person was. And we've tracked it down, and everybody we've spoken to saw someone else do it. But people are curious, aren't they? And they play with things. And no idea how the first one happened. But who was the first person to put the mobile phone on their arm? Put forks and spoons on their arm. And even now, what we're seeing is the other parts of the body are becoming magnetic as well. So it's not just the arm now.
What, it's like the body, different parts of the body?
Yes, we've seen it on forehead, in the chest, around the neck area, and on the nasal. The new story coming out now is sticking on people's noses, on the side of the noses, specifically after having the swabs. So this story is going crazy. This story
it's not just the area. It's not just the area of the vaccine. It's also other areas of the body.
With what we've seen is when they're new to the vaccine, it's just on the site of the vaccine. And everything we've done, everything I've done, everything my team have done is always, every single time, it's been on the site of the vaccination. But we're getting in these, because we've requested people send in videos. And like I say, when you watch the first video, when I first saw a fork sticking to someone's arm, I laughed and made a rude comment. I thought, great chick. And then you see another one come in with a spoon. And then, now I'm in contact with a young lady in America, and we talk quite nearly every day. And she's very ill. She's in hospital, and she's in a terrible state. And she's been admitted to hospital. She's presented herself to hospital and said, "What's happened to me?" And they've admitted her because she's got this incredible magnetic reaction. They've given her MRI scans, CT scans, everything, trying to work out what's going on. And even the person who was giving the MRI scan, the person in charge of it, he immediately became inquisitive, put a magnet and found out that he was magnetic as well.
What, just by being around her?
Yeah, by random, did you say?
Just by being around her, he became magnetic?
No, he'd had the vaccine. He'd been vaccinated. But once he had this kind of patient come in, who was sticking a fork on her arm, he just picked up a magnet and he tried on his own arm. And when it stuck to his own arm, of course, you can imagine the reaction in the hospital. So, the poor girl, she's lovely and she's not well and very confused. But the doctors are very confused. So, Shelley, when you say you don't know how vaccinations work, I can promise you I've been speaking to top experts literally all around the world. And only a very, very few have got a clue to what's going on.
Yeah.
Do you know what the process, has anyone discussed yet what they think the thing is going through, the magnetic thing, and whether it's a dangerous thing or not? Because it's in the trials, a lot of people, obviously this is all new, but have you had any experts actually say what they think it is?
Yeah. I've just been filming them. We'll release all of it soon. I've got to edit it all together with the final punches. But when I say we're editing it together and we kind of know, we don't have kind of qualified proof. It's just a very big presumption that we think this is what's going on. And the big thing we just want to mention it, because I want to keep it really simple, especially for all the people listening to this for the first time. If you look at the ingredient list, we know what's on the ingredient list because they've printed it, and it's very simple. There's sugar, there's water, there's sugar, then there's a variety of salt, and then the very important part is the lipids, the fats, which basically coat the mRNA. And it's like they make it like a Trojan horse covering that sneaks the mRNA into a cell. But we all know that water can play little electric games, but we are water. We know magnets don't stick to us. Sugar, magnets don't stick to sugar. Salts, magnets don't stick to salts. And fats, magnets don't stick. So when we then can see human beings that we know, any life form, any tree, any plant, any fungus, anything is never magnetic. And if we can see that people are becoming magnetic after a vaccination, then what we're looking at is the possibility that there's ingredients that haven't been disclosed, or something's happening inside the body that's been caused by the vaccination. And either way, that is absolutely explosive.
Because it's not a natural process, so therefore something's going wrong, you think?
Well, it's something that people haven't agreed to. It's either something in the vaccine that should not be in there, or something's happening because of the vaccine that would be, it won't be an accident, it would be a technology that is causing people to become magnetic. But let me just put this a different way. If you ate Weetabix one morning, you got a new brand of Weetabix, and then you found out your hair turned green, you wouldn't be happy. And if you look at the ingredient list and it just said there's wheat in there, wheat, salt and sugar, which is what Weetabix are, you're going to go straight to that manufacturer and they're in big trouble, right?
Yeah, well, these ones are protected, aren't they?
They're protected within certain realms, but you can't have an undisclosed ingredient. You can't put things in. And they can try. I mean, we know there are loopholes. So, I mean, I think as nurses, you're probably aware of the peanut allergy that suddenly arrived in the 90s, right?
No, I'm not. And I'm not a nurse. I think everybody assumes I'm a nurse. I was a healthcare assistant.
I'm a marshal.
A marshal.
Charlie's a COVID marshal in comedy terms. But
okay,
yeah, so keep it simple, Mark.
Okay, well, in the night, no one had. I'm old enough to remember the 80s very well and the 70s. No one had peanut allergies then.
Oh, peanut allergies, right? Yes, sorry, I misheard what you said.
So peanut allergies, which have become a huge thing, and we know now that you get the warnings for peanuts everywhere, and if someone who's allergic to peanuts gets on an aeroplane, not one pack of peanuts can be opened on the aeroplane because the people have become allergic. Well, anyway, that peanut allergies, they've come from undisclosed ingredients on vaccines. Now, the way they did it is they put peanut oil in the vaccines, but they believed that the peanut oil was inert, as in it was so safe to put in that it's not really an ingredient. It's like water or something. So it's not on the ingredients, but you'll find it on the patents. And what's happened is little proteins, little remnants of protein, peanut protein, then get injected into the blood. And of course, the human being is designed to digest everything that's eaten and break it down into smaller parts. So when a whole kind of peanut protein gets inside the blood, it causes, that's where the allergic reaction comes from. Wow. So that's where we are with it. It's kind of undisclosed.
That is literally just blowing my mind.
What's happening with these vaccines?
It's scary stuff, isn't it? And well, people wonder why you're out protesting and trying to bring awareness to people. But where do you see this going? Do you have like a view, like the new order, the new world agenda, and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have my own view. I've read papers to see what they're doing because all their plans have been published, so we know what they're going to do. It's not a conspiracy theory. So we know what they're trying to do. We know how they're trying to do it and what they're using. But my big thing I always try and say is it's just like a political manifesto. So they're using sheepdogs to try and steer all the sheep in one direction to get them through a gate. But it's our choice whether we go through the gate or not. But when those sheepdogs are barking, we need to turn around and not be afraid of the sheep and go where we want to go and not go where they want us to go. That's
a good way of putting it, for sure. And I mean, I think there's a lot of people that have woken up due to this pandemic. They are questioning things. You know, what I find fascinating is that even if you've had the vax, you still have to go into isolation if you're near anybody, and you still have to have you still have to have COVID tests and things.
It's just incredible, isn't it? I mean, how literally a few months ago, people were getting the vaccine so they could go on holiday.
They sold their souls, yeah.
And now they're finding out they're being lied to. And then not only that, I mean, the basic one is they were told if you have the vaccine, you're not going to get ill. And now they're publishing or saying, oh, there's a new variant, and you know that most people are going to die are going to be the vaccinated. They've actually said that. And then you've got to have the third vaccine, you've got to have the fourth one.
Yeah, it's never ending.
So people need to wake up, and we don't. You know, I think the magnet should be. This magnet story should be the bucket of ice cold water thrown over the head of those who are still sleeping. You know, it should wake people up.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Yeah, I mean, when I saw it a while ago, I read it and it didn't really, I was like, yeah, what a load of rubbish. And then I kept seeing these things pop up in my newsfeed. And I was like, actually, and then I saw your video and I was like, right, got to get you on and we've got to talk about this. And if you're saying you've seen it, I totally believe you. Yeah. Now I want to meet people and, yeah, we need to get more video evidence and stuff, and I think get outside of these vaccine centres doing it. But
yeah, we need. That's the big call. Everyone. I get the odd email with people saying, "Oh, why don't you try this or why don't you try that?" And you know, it doesn't really. Whatever we do on film, people are going to be suspicious. You know, some people be suspicious. The vast majority believe it because they can look at people's faces. But we all know that there's special effects in films and trickery, so there's always going to be an element of doubt. But what we're asking everybody is. Literally, it's the simplest experiment that anyone could do in the world. You just could go down your local £1 shop, or you go on kind of like someone like Amazon, and for £5 you could buy some neodymium magnets. Put neo magnets into the search engine, it will find them. And then all you have to do is find someone who's had the Pfizer or Moderna vaccination and just try. And you'll be amazed. But seeing's believing, and we're just asking everyone to do it. And what's really important, wherever people are in the village and town, is if you get out and do it in your local cafe, if you do it in your local bar, if you do it with all your family and get the word out, then we stand a chance of the story warning other people so people realise what's happening.
Yeah, and did I see somewhere else that they're asking for like a product recall and advising people now that there's a health scare to stop buying magnets all of a sudden?
Yeah, that's incredible. We did the...
Coincidence?
Yeah, you're laughing like that, yeah. Exactly. I mean, exactly. We brought out the film, I think it was on a Wednesday. We went to the protest on Saturday, and Saturday morning the news came in that BBC had been working with the NHS and decided that neodymium, just of all the magnets, it's not the other type, it's just neodymium magnets, are now a danger towards children. And that was in the morning, and we were like, well, I was just like, we're on target, we're bang on target. That's their response. And I was laughing, is that the best they can come up with? Really? They're just about to destroy one of the greatest profit-making products in the world is going to get destroyed with this phenomenon, and that's all they can come up with. But then they did the same in America. By the evening, Saturday evening, we got news that the same story was going out in America, now trying to ban the magnets there. But it's too late because there's magnets in the shops. We've all got the magnets. I bought enough magnets. I'm giving them out to people. We can all find out. And there's people have got neodymium magnets on their back, in their fridges, on their whiteboards, on the wall. They're everywhere. And people are also using the normal magnets, but we find it's much better with the neo magnets, but the normal magnets work. And these people in South America are finding mobile phones working. And if you don't have any magnets, try it with a paper clip or try it with a small nut. We've been sticking nuts in people's amps. So they can't ban nuts. They can't ban paper clips. So they're on a losing leg. They're on a losing wicket here. The big thing we're trying to work out now is when they realise that the cat's out of the bag, how are they going to explain it?
Yeah, it is like watching it all fall down like a house of cards, isn't it? I see all the like disruptions going on in the Houses of Parliament at the moment, and they're all bitching at each other and all calling each other liars. But I'm thinking then even most of these people glued to that TV, they can't sort of buy it because they're so brainwashed. Someone only told me the other day that, well, we all know that the internet's full of false information, and it's like, oh my God, I just can't talk to you. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, we've got them now. I mean, this is when we made the first film that's on the YouTube channel, my Not on the Beat YouTube channel. All the fact checkers came out, and this is what astonished me. It wasn't. I thought it was just Snopes. And then we looked, and it's Snopes. It was full fact check. The BBC made a whole program that they brought out. They got it out about 3 hours before I got my film out, saying it was all a load of rubbish. They did a what they call a reality check, and they brought in experts to all say that this didn't work. And yet I made a film at the same time, proving it did work. And we've gone out and, 9 out of 10 people write to me, goes, oh yeah, I replicated it, and this happened, and it happened on my co-workers. So, and then Reuters, I mean, it goes further than this. They've had major comedians come out and mention it on shows. They've had Reuters, and Reuters is one of the biggest news gathering organisations in the world that supplies all the news to the smaller newspapers. They came out and said, this is all fake. They've had it. They've had it because everyone can see it's not fake and it's true. So this is the biggest kind of expose on the lying mainstream media and the deception by the mainstream I think we've ever come across, because it's so simple for people to find out who is telling the truth.
Yeah. And I just don't get it, these journalists. I mean, your job as a journalist is to, report on the news. And it's like, do any of these journalists not have a conscience anymore? Because I would just find it so hard. But I mean, at the end of the day, we all need an income. I respect that. And I'm very lucky that I'm self-employed. I don't have a huge business, but it covers my bills. But I could not imagine now having to have COVID testing and all of that sort of stuff and wearing a mask all the time just to be able to do a job. But I realised just watching a bit of TV last night in the adverts. Oh, I know, it was the Vax Wars on Dispatches last night. I don't know if you saw it, Mark. Piers featured in it briefly.
Yeah, I didn't see it. No, I know of it, and I know Piers did a reply.
Yeah, they did.
I can imagine the stitch up they did.
Yeah, the first 5 minutes, I was thinking, hey, this is really good. This is really good, and then it just all went. I didn't even bother watching the end of it. But I'm trying to think what the point I was trying to make now. But all of these documentaries coming out, they always make us out to look so bad, and that there's never anything fair. And but my point I was going to make was, even in the adverts, they were advertising like holidays, a certain aeroplane company, but they're all running around with their masks off and stuff on. And it's just like they're regulating the new normal. Apparently in 2 weeks' time, all of these rules are supposed to be lifted, aren't they? And I don't know. I don't like seeing these TV programmes when they're wearing masks now. It's like they've even brought it into the actual TV things. Things like Call the Midwife, my one favourite programme, and that is the only thing I watch. The nurses are wearing masks when they're at the deliveries, and we know that this is going on like 100 years ago where they didn't have masks, but they're just normalising it at every level. Yeah,
which shows it's a campaign, which shows it's an agenda.
Yes.
Because when even on EastEnders they did that. I don't know if you saw it a month ago, maybe 6 weeks ago now, where they had the lady come in who they accused of being an anti-vaxxer.
Oh, yes,
and wanted to wear a mask in the shop, and it was just so embarrassing. It's so in your face. But you think, Shelley, you, I, each of us here, we just think it's so easy to see through. But like of all of us who went to that stadium to try and warn those 15,000 kids, basically, we all left depressed. and absolutely heartbroken because they'd been sold a story and they were absolutely single-minded. There wasn't any persuasion. There wasn't any room of questioning left to them. A few of them were curious, but very few.
Yeah. Yeah, I know a friend of mine, she said that she decided not to have the vax because one of her clients said that their granddad was paralysed within 24 hours. And I said, oh, I'm so relieved to hear that. And she said, well, my parents are furious with me. And it's just like, it's not just your work, is it? We've got families that believe so strongly in it. And I see so many families torn apart over this.
Yeah, and this is the worrying bit because where's this going? Where's this going? Because we fear their next stage is to try and turn the vaccinated on the unvaccinated and blame because basically we know we've got the data coming in. The vaccinated are dying, they're injured, they're hurt, and this is only going to increase. And we believe, those deaths are going to be blamed on the new variant, the Grimsby Growler variant, whatever it's going to be called, and it's going to be blamed on us, and that's the danger point.
Yeah, this is it. All these new variants, they just keep coming, don't they? And a majority of these people, I believe, that are in hospitals and stuff, they've all had their vaccinations. So these boosters are just going to go on and on. We all know with the old typical flu vaccine, only supposedly carried like 5 forms of the actual virus. Well, we know that there's like at least 20 a year that go around. But so there's just going to be booster after booster, isn't there?
It's greed, and it's like I say about blackmailers. We've all been brought up on thriller movies, and we all know what happens if you pay a blackmailer. They come back for more, don't they? Yeah. They say, I only want £100 off you, and then they come back and go, right, give us another 20 because I found some more photographs or whatever they're blackmailing you with. We know that's how they work. So people who give in and go, I'm going to have the 2 vaccines because then I can go on holiday. We're already watching the deception. It only takes 6 weeks, 2 months, and they go, oh, no, did we say that? No, you've got to have the 3rd vaccination. And, oh, no, you still got to have your tests, and you still got to wear your mask. So there's poor people who had the vaccination just so they can go on holiday, then find out they've got to spend hundreds of pounds on official tests to go and £100 on official tests to come back. And they're asking, but I'm watching people ask me the question, like, hang on, because I keep saying to them, tests are free. And they look at me and go, not if you want to go away. And I just go, well, yeah, so
I've never thought of it like that. Actually,
it's extortion. It's extortion.
I've got a mate who believes that because he's had both of them that he's absolutely fine now. I said, oh no, it's not. That's not how it works. I said you've got to be a good boy and you've got to do exactly what they say. If you want these things that they're going to give you, you've got to take every vaccine that they tell you you've got to take. He thinks it's over.
you're totally right. But hopefully I find, I don't know, what you maybe want to say to him is I find predicting is very powerful. So if you say to him, by the way, you're in trouble, they're going to want the 3rd one, they're going to want the 4th one, like you just did, predict it, then he might wake up when it happens.
Yeah, this is what I'm doing with my family, with other people, is I keep saying what's going to happen in the hopes that when it does happen, because, for instance, one member of my family thinks this is the last lockdown because they're all getting the vaccinations, and I said, no, that's not how it works. It's a psychological game. I said, more lockdowns are coming. So you're right, if you keep predicting it, and people are going to start to be like, how come she keeps getting it right?
I'm going to let you in on a little plan of mine.
Come on, excellent.
This idea was given to me by somebody I met going towards one of the protests. But I'd predicted the dates of when things were going to happen before because I worked out the patterns of when lockdowns were going to be introduced and all the rest of it. So my plan now, what she put the idea in my head was, she goes, well, if you've been right before, why don't you lay a bet on it? So I'm going to go down the bookers and see what odds I can get on predicting the date of the next lockdown.
Wow. So what is your date? Are you going to reveal it on the Shelley Tasker show?
Well, if I did that, all the odds would be terrible. I'm going to get brilliant odds when I first go in, aren't I?
Oh, yes.
I give a clue on the Shelley Tasker show. I give a clue to what it is because I'm very vocal on it with Facebook and Telegram. They're using dates that are significant astrological dates.
Okay.
So very. I've got, I I think 4 or 5 right now in a row. And on the last post I did about it, saying, right, I've been proven right now. They've used, okay, so I'll break it down. So when they brought in the lockdown, they did that on the first lockdown happened on the spring equinox. Okay?
Yeah.
So it brought in at the beginning of the equinox, and I think it was the 26th of March? And then the lockdown started on the 29th, I think it was. Was it? Yeah,
it was a week before,
like
I think, yeah.
Yeah. But that was, if you check the date, it's bang on the spring equinox. Then they kind of went through, and if you remember, they opened the pubs to be able to drink again. That was the 4th of July. Now, the 4th of July just sounds like it's American Independence Day, but it's actually another astrological date to do with Sirius after the summer solstice. Then they brought in masks. Now, this one was just them playing with us. But can you remember when they brought in masks? They said, we're going to bring in masks 3 weeks ahead.
Yeah.
What we said to everybody at the time is, well, why bring it in 3 weeks ahead? And they said, we need time to prepare for it. And it's like, hang on, you've just brought in a lockdown with 3 days' notice, but you're now giving people 3 weeks of when to bring the masks. But the reason they gave 3 weeks' notice is they didn't bring the mask law in until the 24th of July.
Right.
Now, the 24th of July is 24/7. So they were letting us know that you're not going to stop wearing those masks. Those masks are going to be in there 24/7. And then they brought in the tier system on the autumn equinox, which was 23rd of September. Then predicted Hallows Eve was the announcement of next lockdown. And this is when I was getting more confident at this point, because I realised the patterns. Said, look, they're going to bring in the lockdowns then. And what the post I wrote was, they're going to bring it in. And I said, the only question then is they're bringing the lockdown is when do they start the lockdown? And then I said, no, and I didn't say when they're going to start the lockdown. I said they're going to announce the lockdown on the Hallows Eve, which is the 30th of October. And I said the only question left is what are they going to do on the 5th of November? And of course, when they announced it, they said the lockdown starts on the 5th of November. And there was the answer. And the post that I got kind of well known for is I listed all the dates and the explanation, because there's reasons behind these dates. They're not just dates. There's actually kind of pagan symbolism behind them. So there's much more meaning to these dates than what could be thought of on the surface. But when I listed all the dates, I said the only thing that breaks my theory, and I wrote this on the 4th of December, the only thing that breaks my theory is they didn't do anything on the 21st of June.
Oh, but everybody's talking about the 21st of June this year, aren't they?
Yeah, but no one said a word until January or February, and then some of my followers wrote back and go, oh my God, you got it right. And I was like, what did I get right? Like, haven't you heard? They just announced they're going to drop the lockdown on the 21st of June. And I'd been pointing out the previous 21st of June. I said, it's just funny they've not done anything on this date. But of course, now the big date actually was the summer solstice 2021, the 21st of June, which is the summer solstice. It's a very significant date, and that's the date they chose in advance. I mean, how did they... Just think about it. They announced it in January, February. Why would you announce the end of a lockdown to be 6 months ahead or 5 months ahead? How did they know what's happening with the virus then? What kind of magic board are they looking at? Or is this just a plan where they're following to certain dates and the ruled agenda? And I'd say it's the latter.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. So do you think then that we're not coming out of lockdown?
Oh, we're coming. I don't know what they're going to pull on the 21st of June. Just watch out. It won't be what we expect. And if anybody thinks that it's going to be over on the 21st of June, they're absolutely joking, because there's going to be major lockdowns for next winter. They'll probably start something around the 22nd of September, 23rd of September, the autumn equinox. And just watch out for those significant dates. Anybody who's got like an astrological diary can pick them out. I just, before anybody does that, let me get down to bookers first, all right?
Oh, it's brilliant. I've never looked at it on those terms, actually. But, yeah, I do, when people keep saying, oh, it's all going to be over soon, it's like, yeah, in your dreams. Yeah. So apart from the whole magnetic story, what else are you delving into at the moment? I'm sure everything's just really COVID related, isn't it?
That's, 100% on the COVID story, because nothing else is more important than what's happening, because we are in the middle of a genocide. The deaths that are coming in are absolutely huge, and if we look at what's causing those deaths and how many more are expected, we've gone through a cull in the old people's homes, and they're now coming for the youngsters. And the biggest thing people need to work on right now is trying to stop those vaccines going to school children.
Absolutely, because we know that's coming next. And what I find so hard to believe is like the nurses systems. I know somebody who works in a school, and they had to like medically prepare the rooms for just the testing of COVID. And we know they come in and do the rubella vaccinations. And I mean, I just assumed personally that vaccinations are associated with a doctor's surgery, not a school. But they're now making that part of it. But of course, we know that these children, they don't need to consent, do they?
I'm not an expert on the kids.
I think you have to be 16.
Sorry, I've got friends working with the kids, and I've heard stories that they're trying to take away parental. I think they're saying children over 12 can make up their own minds about the vaccine, which is absolutely terrifying. Don't quote me. I'm not 100% sure on that, but that's what I believe they're trying to do.
Yeah,
I've heard they don't need parental consent, so they're just gonna convince the kids, aren't they?
Well, the problem is some of the parents won't sign. They only sign if they can have it, I hear. But then you've got friends that are there, and it's like your friend's having it. Oh, I'll have it as well. I don't know. It's massive. So
the peer pressure is incredible. We could see this at Twickenham. You could see like a group of 5-6 people coming along. This big sign up saying the big banner saying Magnet Challenge. And we go, hey, do you want to do the Magnet Challenge? And people turn around and go, what's that? So we'll see if magnet sticks on your arm. And one of them out of the group, always one of them would be really curious, and they'd stop and go, oh, hang on, you can see their face, go, oh, I'll try that. And then you just see the other members of the group just grab them, going, no, we're walking together, and they'd all head off, and those people would succumb straight away. So you can see the peer pressure in action.
And there's also a thing that I think they might try to use when a girl's like giving the pill or whatever it is. I think there's something in school that protects them from having to tell the parents. And I think I read somewhere that they might try something like that where they don't have to tell the parents that they've had the jab or something like that. But I'm not quite sure on that.
I bet you're right. I didn't think of that. I bet you're right.
Yeah, it was something that I was reading up about it, but I don't quote me for sure. But I've got a feeling they're going to try to use something like that.
Yeah, and we just have to keep carrying on trying to spread the word, isn't it? I mean, people keep saying, oh, you can't wake people up. Well, I disagree. And it's not like you're trying to wake them up to everything. It's just actually don't have that vaccine. And what just dumbfounds me is the amount of people you say it's still an experiment, until 2023. It's on the government websites. But they don't care. They don't even look. They just, I'm having it. But I suppose you should feel sorry for them because they've been pushed into a state of fear, haven't they? They're so scared. It's crazy.
And the lack of knowledge, because they don't know, they're spending time doing other things. They're either working, having fun with their friends or playing games or something. But, if you ask them about the vaccines and ask them what the technology is, I meet people who just go, well, there's only one type of vaccine. Right? And they go, no, there's many different, no, there's just different brand names. It's all the same vaccine, because it can only be one vaccine for COVID. And it's like, well, you might think that, but that's not the case. And, we can see the injuries varying massively for each different vaccine. But they don't know. The people, they just really, really, really don't know. And they haven't seen the data. The film I put out yesterday, when we filmed people in the park, we had 2 friends, and one of them, the magnet was sticking. And he was a bit kind of perplexed by it, and he kind of wanted to get away. But his friend suddenly turned around and he looked at us, and he took the magnet and goes, can I have a go? And then once he saw it sticking himself, he just looked straight at us and said, hang on, my vaccine's booked for the 6th of June. Maybe I shouldn't have it.
Hurrah!
And the doctor stepped into him, and he had this big questioning look on his face. And the doctor, with Dr. T, she stepped in and said, well, there's a thing called informed consent. Are you aware of how many people have been injured? And he goes, oh, well, I think there's been tiny little problems, but nothing much. And then someone just by accident just by chance, then gave him a bit of paper that listed how many people have been recorded as died now, which is over 1,200 in Britain. And his jaw dropped open. He said, you're kidding. And as he was reading the numbers and we were telling him, you could just see him absolutely in shock. And I think he will go home, and after seeing the magnet stick, and then be given the information, the data, I don't think he's getting the vaccine. Or he'll at least wait, and this is what we say to everybody, if you really want the vaccine, just don't rush now. Wait and see. Wait until the trial's over.
It'll still be there. Yeah.
And you're young, you're healthy, look at the risk, you're not even at a risk. We know the data they give out is very, very dodgy. But even when you look at their data, if you're under 60, you have nothing to worry about.
No. And I do find it uncanny, like we've gone to all these protests, we've been to London and stuff, and you stood amongst all those people, and I don't know anybody that's got poorly, and just like, look at Saturday, I would love to know how many people were there. People are always trying to work it out, but I haven't got a clue.
Well, can you imagine what would happen if we'd all gone on those protests in the beginning and we'd all been kind of hugging each other and we were dancing around, no one having a mask, and we're like at a pop concert, shoulder to shoulder? What would happen if we'd suddenly found out that all our friends who'd gone started coming down being ill?
Yeah, exactly.
How many people would have gone to the next protest? we would have put 2 and 2 together, going, you know what, we might have been wrong about this, and this is dangerous. We're not going to go to the next protest because they're right, and we should all be standing 2 metres apart, and we should all wear masks.
Exactly.
But instead, what's happened? Every protest gets bigger and bigger and bigger, more jubilant, more powerful, more awe-inspiring. People travelling from all parts of the country. So,
Is it because where are you based, Mark?
I'm in West London.
West London, right? Okay. Because we're all the way down in Cornwall, and I mean it's a bloody long journey. Every month I say we're not doing it ever again, and then we go.
But it's such a buzz, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. To be with so many like-minded people, yeah, it's just wonderful, and it's just like a festival in its own right, isn't it? Now.
Yeah, it is. I think that I used to go to a lot of festivals, but it's even better than the festivals because people are just so happy to be with other happy people.
Yeah, definitely, with no fear. And everybody's just got that, everybody's got that one thing in common, haven't they? And it's, I suppose, where we all get together away from the rest of the world. You know, just stopping at the service stations at Reading, it was brilliant, really, because we had 2 coaches from Cornwall when... Of course, everybody looked, and there's like 2 coachloads of people all come in without their masks on and everything, and it's a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, and people think on the buzz, and what's great there, I mean, it must have been great in the service station because people would have picked up on the energy of 2 coachloads of people coming in. The people who sat quietly with their little blue mask on, bent over their coffee, would have picked up on that buzz.
Yeah, it was an awesome day. So, well, before we are coming to an end, Mark, it's been great talking to you. I've had you on my list for weeks, and I saw your magnet thing, and I'm like, right, I need to message you now. So I really appreciate you coming on. And so, can we find... Is your YouTube channel still up and running?
I love the way you ask it, because...
Is it?
I know, because that's what an age that we live in.
Where can we find you, Mark? Not on Facebook at the moment.
About the truth. Surely you must be closed down. And so far, YouTube is still running, but we've got the video. I've got the website, notonthebead.co.uk. So I put the videos there. What I ask everybody is please just join up by email. There's a little button there. Join by email, because we will get closed down in a whole variety of places. But if we've got your email, we can just email out and say where the new place is, because I'm not going to stop making films, not going to stop getting the information out. It's just what's going to change is where we put it. That's all.
Absolutely. Have you got a BitChute channel at all? No.
Yes, I have problems uploading there, but that's going to be sorted soon.
And it just takes forever, doesn't it, to upload all of this stuff?
We've got to do multiple channels, and they're big files, and we're handling a lot. And I've never made films so quickly, putting these ones together. I never knew I could do something so quickly, but the minute it's done and uploaded once, I tend to be straight on to the next thing. And what's beautiful is people do that re-uploading job, so people download it straight away and re-upload it. So we look at YouTube and might only have 14,000 views, and then we just look at one kind of pirate copy, but I mean, we totally approve of everybody copying everything. In America, it would be 50,000 copies there, 40,000 copies there. Brilliant. Absolutely. This is the new way. We've got to be, with our information, we have to be the virus. We have to just be sending out, copying, mutating, chopping, cutting up each other's material, reforming it together into our own versions, and just keep pumping it out.
I love the way you just put that. Yeah, we need to be the virus. I love that. So do follow Mark. And Mark, it's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll catch up again soon. And thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, Shelley, thanks so much for having me on. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Mark. It's been brilliant talking to you.
Speak to you again, my
Cheers.
friend.
Take-
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was awesome, wasn't it? Wasn't it?
That was
Speak
awesome.
proper and not Cornish. So quick lowdown. Basically, there is an event, I believe, happening this Sunday afternoon.
Oh yes, that's right. A Stand in the Park Penzance is coming together with Let Cornwall Live, and we're having a special speaker guest, Piers Corbin, and that is Penzance, Morab Gardens, 1 p.m. this Sunday, the 6th of June. And there's going to be a little picnic there, other speakers, and maybe some music. We haven't finalised anything yet with the music thing, but there's talks about it, so might have a bit of a music thing afterwards.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice little jolly anyway.
Yeah, definitely.
Nice little uplifting party out in the afternoon and get to listen to some good speakers.
Free food, a famous person coming down. What more could
What
you
more
want?
do you want? Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, and just meet with like-minded people.
Exactly.
So hopefully see you Sunday. If not, we'll be back same time next week and we will sing you out. We are the 99%. Singing we are the 99%. Singing we are the 90. Together we are mighty. We are the 99%. See you next week, guys.
On the Shelley Tasker Show!
Sorry. I don't know what I've done.